Welcome to C3 In This Together, 30 minutes in our own voice, a mental health awareness series. Today's topic, recovery, resilience, and faith. We will hear from someone with a lived experience in both recovery and faith. Today, our guest is Beverly Ragland. She's the Director of Virtual Peer Services at the Georgia Council for Recovery, and also she serves as the Board of Directors for the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network. Since 2002, Beverly has been deeply involved in addiction treatment and recovery services. As an ordained minister since 2011, Beverly also pastors Empowering Faith Ministries. Let's welcome this amazing lady of both faith and recovery. Welcome, Miss Beverly.
Hi, hello.
Good, good. It's so good to have you with us today. We're looking forward to our time together. Before we jump into our time together, allow me to share some statistics surrounding substance use. So here's some statistics as we consider our time together. Then we'll hear from this amazing lady and her story of recovery, resilience, faith, just amazing work that she's doing. So here's some statistics. It will come up on the screen. According to the 2023 United States National Survey on Drug Use and Health, so the 2023 United States National Survey on Drug Use and Health, here's what they have said in terms of statistics. They revealed to us that 48.5 million, that's about 16.7% of Americans aged 12 and older, battled a substance use disorder in the past year. They've also said to us that 10.2% of Americans 12 and older had an alcohol use disorder in the past year. We also know that 27.2 million Americans 12 and older, that's about 9.7%, have reported battling a drug use disorder in the past year. 20.4 million American adults, which is about 7.9%, have suffered from both a mental health disorder and a substance use disorder, or a co-occurring disorder in the past year. We do know that in 2023, about 27.7 million males, that's about 20%, and 20.7 million female aged 12 and older, that's about 14.3% in the United States, had a past year substance use disorder. The research does suggest that women in recovery are more susceptible to cravings and relapse. And here's the last statistics to consider. In 2023, an estimated 54.2 million aged 12 and older individuals needed treatment for a substance use disorder in the past year, but only about 23% of those received the treatment that they needed. Wow. Staggering and sobering statistics. What are your thoughts on that, Lady Beverly, before we get into our first question? Just hearing those statistics.
Wow, those statistics are really staggering, and it inspires me to continue to do the work in recovery treatment and for both all behavioral health challenges. And I'm really proud to be part of the Army that's helping to serve.
Wow, I love that. Proud to be a part of the Army. Well, listen, I'm going to use that. I'm going to steal that, and I may or may not give you credit that I'm a proud part of the Army that's serving in behavior health. Well, my friend, let's jump in. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm an Army grad and also an Army veteran. I was born in France on July 21st, 1955, so I'm also a senior. I've lived in Germany, Japan, and traveled to many countries and lived in almost every state in the United States. I'm a person in long-term recovery. That means I've been free of drugs or alcohol for over 25 years. In that time, I've also managed my diagnosis of depression, anxiety, and severe grief disorder related to the loss of my children who are in heaven. I speak openly about my recovery because I believe in the power of sharing my experience to inspire others to pursue long-lasting quality recovery. I aim to be a beacon of hope. My recovery has given me the ability to be present for my family, my church, and my community. I was selected to be the director of the virtual peer services at the Georgia Council and on the board for the Georgia Mental Health Consumer Network because of my experience. I also pastor a church. I hold a bachelor's degree in administration. I'm a clinical supervisor, a certified addiction counselor, a CPS, and a CARES. I joke that I have more alphabet behind my name than I have name. But every credential represents the training I've gained to help others to pursue their path to long-lasting recovery. I have a kaleidoscope analogy to describe my recovery. Each jewel in my kaleidoscope, God, family, treatment, therapy, medication, 12-step recovery, and a host of cheerleaders can be realigned when life's picture gets unclear or challenging. These elements make up the foundation of my recovery, and I live each day hoping to be the jewel in someone else's recovery kaleidoscope. I'm in recovery, but I haven't managed all of my addictions. Just ask Amazon Prime.
Wow, I love that. Oh, mercy, mercy. What a wealth of lived experience. And there's just so much that I could draw from. But what's standing out to me is that word recovery. And as we move through our time together, it's important that we say to people that you'll notice that we're using the language of recovery and not necessarily cure, right? Because a lot of things, a lot of experiences, a lot of behavior health challenges, a lot of substance use challenges. They may not be cured, but recovery looks different for each person. So we want to remind people of that. And as you're watching, you may be saying, well, what's this word recovery, right? It's this idea that recovery looks different for each person, and understanding that the conditions that people might navigate and that they're walking through may not be a cure, but in essence, it's a journey that they're on. So, Lady Beverly, thank you for sharing that. And I love what you talked about being a beacon of hope and the kaleidoscope of recovery and being that gem. Wow, wow, wow. Amazing, amazing, amazing. Let's go to the next question. So you've talked a little bit about uh, kind of how you frame your story, your journey of recovery, but tell us a little bit more about your story surrounding recovery.
Thank you, Dr. Cassell, for acknowledging that recovery looks different for every person. My recovery story is one of faith in the power of God to deliver me from a seemingly hopeless situation. It's a story of redemption and resilience that began over 25 years ago when my active addiction led me to a low point. Stealing my oldest son's girlfriend's car. My grandchildren were visiting. I went missing for so many days, my family called the police. The next step was preparing a news story saying, "Have you seen this woman?" It was that bad. My son, Andre, eventually spotted me in the stolen car, and after a high-speed chase, he forced me to stop, gave me bus fare, and told me to go home. It took me 2 days to give up and go back. When I returned, my father, Reverend Sidney Ragland, a Vietnam-era veteran, saw me and said, "You are a blasphemy and an abomination. If you keep harming this family, I am going to take you out of here." His words shook me. This was a complete departure from the way he had always handled me, with anointing oil on my head, my pillow, the doorknobs, and even the money he gave me. I realized then that he would rather see me dead than watch me to continue down the path I was on. My sons did everything they could to love me through my addiction. Andre would pick up my oldest son, Brian, when circumstances became too risky at home. Brian, still in elementary, would buy hot dogs and bread on his way home from school just so we could get by. The day after I returned from my week-long run, everyone was ready to see me change, and for the first time, I was too. My son asked, "Mama, What are you going to do? On July 12th, 1999, in my one day of clarity, I made a plan. I would go to the VA hospital and beg for help. I did not know what the help would look like, but it had to be better than the hell I was living in. When I got to the VA, I was assigned a therapist, a psychiatrist, and I joined a support group. I went to that group for so long that eventually my therapist said, Miss Ragland, don't you have anything else you can be doing? Essentially, I was put out of the group, which meant it was time for growth, responsibility, and accountability. I had a child to raise and bills to pay. I joined the VA's compensated work therapy program, and despite all of my education, I was proud to earn $7.25 an hour at the Atlanta VA. Over time, I was hired full-time, and they recognized the leadership qualities in me. For 3 years, I chaired the Atlanta VA's Leadership Development Program, which received national recognition. Also completed their requirements to become a certified addiction therapist. Through the VA, though the VA eventually shifted its focus to hiring social workers with experience in substance use disorder. I wasn't discouraged though, because by that time I had learned to trust God and to follow his lead. I had attended 12 steps meetings every day for 3 years, and one day a woman asked me, have you surrendered? That question turned a light bulb for me. I realized that my life was truly aligned with God's will. God showed up for me. He allowed me to become a certified peer specialist and to be promoted. Eventually, I became the VA national point of contact for peer specialists across Georgia, Alabama, and South Carolina. God protected me through the darkest days of my substance use disorder. And as many of us know, recovery is an ongoing process, as are life's challenges. We are always on the path to wellness. My God not only equipped me with what I needed to support others in their recovery journey, but he also continues to walk with me on my own path to spiritual, emotional, and physical wellness. After 30 years of federal service, I retired from the VA and started a second career in the helping field. Since 2017, I've been honored to work at the Georgia Council for Recovery, where I continue to serve those seeking healing and hope.
Wow, wow, amazing, amazing. What an amazing journey of recovery. And my hope is that as someone who would be listening in and watching to this session, that you would find your own story of recovery. You would find your own pathway of recovery. And you've heard from this woman of faith. And we want to be very intentional in this specific uh, session here in talking about faith because we do want people to know there are many pathways to recovery, but faith, and both Pastor Ragland and I, we are embedded in the faith community. We are clear about our faith, that we are Christians, and that our journey of managing and coping and navigating life comes from our faith and our relationship with Jesus Christ. So we wanted to let people know, as you've watched our 30 minutes in our own voice sessions, you've gotten a variety of varied pathways to hope, healing, and wellness. But we wanted you to hear from this person of faith that her recovery journey is embedded, the foundation of that is in her faith. So thank you so much, Lady Beverly, for sharing that. Thank you for exposing many to the power of faith, to the power of God stepping into our circumstances and bringing hope and healing. Let's go to the next question. What would you say to someone or a loved one of someone who's managing, coping, navigating issues surrounding substance use, mental health, or any other challenging issue?
Again, Thank you for acknowledging the fact that there are many pathways to wellness. That is so important. And what's so valuable for me about the work of recovery is we don't judge, we don't choose for anyone. We meet our peers where they are and walk with them with their chosen pathway. So that's so, so important. So, yes, what would I say to a loved one or someone who's navigating or coping with issues surrounding substance use or mental illness? To the individual, I would say you're not in this alone. Whatever you're going through, there are people who care deeply about you and are here to walk with you through this journey. What you're facing is real and it is tough, but it doesn't define you. You're more than your struggle, and you're worthy of love, hope, and healing. And also, it's okay to ask for help. And it doesn't matter if you ask for help from a friend, a family member, a counselor, or a support group. Seeking help is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. It shows that you value your well being and that you're ready to take steps toward healing. Progress may seem slow at first, and that's okay. Every small step counts. In recovery, we celebrate every moment of resilience. So I say, give yourself grace on the days that feel overwhelming. Healing is not always a straight path, but every day is a new opportunity for growth and recovery. And to that family member, to that loved one, I would say I can imagine how difficult it is to watch someone you care about struggle. It's natural to want to fix things or to feel helpless when you can't. But your support is incredibly valuable, even if it doesn't feel that way. Sometimes just being present and listening without judgment can be the most important, powerful gift you can offer. Remember also that it's important to take care of yourself as well. Supporting someone through these challenges can be exhausting, and you deserve moments of rest and self-care. So it's okay for you to reach out for your own support, whether it's talking to a counselor, joining a support group for loved ones, or
Yes.
leaning on trusted friends or family. See, you can't control our loved one's journey, but we can provide love, encouragement, and a safe space for them to feel seen and heard. And that makes a world of difference. And if I were going to speak to both, I would say this journey is difficult,
Yes.
but there's hope. Healing is possible, change is possible, and there are people and resources to help guide you through, whether it's through treatment, counseling, faith, or community. You don't have to face this alone. You are worth the fight, and there's light at the end of the tunnel. Know that you're seen, you're valued, and you're loved.
Wow, wow, amazing, amazing. Thank you for speaking such hope to the individual and to family members, because here's what we know that when an individual is in crisis, when an individual is facing a challenge, the family also is on that journey as well. So we wanted to be clear in speaking not only to the individual that might be managing and coping and navigating a substance use issue or a mental health condition, but we also wanted to speak to family members as well, to speak hope to them. I love what you've said, and just a few things really resonated with me about, as we've circled back to just previous questions, the importance of understanding that recovery is a process, right? It's not a destination, but it's a process. I love what you've said as well, that you've encouraged the individual to really affirm themselves as they've had moments of victory, so to speak, right? To give themselves permission to celebrate those moments of recovery. And we really wanted to highlight that. And again, that this journey of recovery is a process, right? And
Yes,
we also wanted to
absolutely.
highlight family members. Thank you for being such a critical part of that journey. And I love what you've also done as well. You've reminded the family members that we don't have the power to change people. So often family members, they will struggle with that, right? What do I do? How do I get the individual? Please keep in mind that we don't have the power to change people, but I love what you've said. The power that we have is to love people as they're walking through that recovery process. That's our goal. That's our what we do in helping individuals. The last thing I wanted to highlight is I was reminded of something that an individual who is an expert in the area of recovery. This individual posed a question, and I think this is a good place to pose that question. They asked the question, what is the opposite of addiction? And I'll give folks who are listening just a moment to kind of think about that and maybe get some answers being generated. But what's the opposite of addiction? And immediately thoughts come to mind of sobriety, and the list goes on and on. And that is so true. But what the individual said, and you'll remind me of this, is that the opposite of addiction is community and relationship. And I had to think through that, but the individual explained, they're an expert in this field, that what helps a person to get through recovery is not so much sobriety, but it's having a person who loves them, who stands with them to provide support and love and accountability, and that's how they get through this process of recovery. Any thoughts on that, Lady Beverly?
Well, you said, and I say it differently, and I've learned it differently, but connection.
Connection. Thank you, Lord.
Connection is
Mhm.
the opposite of addiction. And that's connection with whatever will be the next step in your process, community, family, therapy, doesn't matter. Connection, not isolation, connection. You're right. Is the
Wow,
opposite of
absolutely.
addiction.
So did you catch that? So there are many renderings of that, right? But the idea is the same, right? I love that. And I've heard that one as well, right? That the opposite of addiction is connection, right? So we want to challenge people to be connected. If you are the individual that's walking through this, stay connected. Don't be isolated, and recognize that we were created for community and not to be isolated. And then we want people to know that, right? That the opposite of addiction is not, of course, we want people to be sober, whatever that looks like, but it's really connection and community. Wow, wow, this is great stuff. But let's keep going. What would you say? What would you say to? What would you want the church, the faith-based community, to know about the work of recovery? Again, we are embedded in the faith. We're Christians. It's how we cope, manage, navigate life. And we also work. Of course, you are a pastor. I'm embedded in the faith community as a minister in the faith-based community, in addition to the work that I do as a behavioral health specialist. But what would you say to the church or the faith-based community?
My initial thought, without thinking of, is to acknowledge the fact that the church is a place of love. And when someone walks in the doors and immediately what you want to do, instead of addressing their immediate needs, that's love. We want to immediately condemn, immediately judge, immediately stigmatize. So that's my first thought, is that we want to surround anyone that comes in our doors, anyone that approaches us, to know that they are loved, and to love them with the love of Christ. That's important. But I just had to get that off my chest. I had to say that. But what I really had planned to say is recovery from substance use, mental health struggles, and any other challenge is not a one-time event, but an ongoing process. The church should understand that recovery takes time, persistence, and big word, support. Just like faith, recovery is a journey marked by progress, setbacks, and growth. The church can be a powerful source of long-term support, helping individuals stay connected to hope and healing. People in recovery often carry deep shame and stigma, And the church is called to be a place of radical grace.
Whoa.
Jesus met people where they were, broken, hurting, and in need of healing without judgment. The church should model this by creating an environment where individuals feel accepted, loved, and valued, no matter what they've been through. The work of recovery isn't just about addressing a person's physical or mental struggles. It is also about spiritual healing.
Yes.
The church can play a vital role in offering spiritual support through prayer, community, and pastoral care. By integrating faith with practical resources like counseling, recovery programs, peer support, the church can address the full spectrum of healing. And I want to toss in there maybe a food bank or a clothing bank or something like that in between, you know? But for many in recovery, isolation and loneliness are barriers to healing. The church can be a source of genuine community where people feel they belong, offering spaces where people can connect, share their stories, and build on relationships. That's crucial. Small groups, support ministries, and outreach can provide meaningful connections that help sustain recovery. While faith is a powerful source of healing, it's important to recognize that recovery often requires professional support,
Yes.
whether through counseling, therapy, or medical treatment. The church can help by encouraging individuals to seek help they need and break down the stigma surrounding mental health and substance use treatment. Partnering with recovery programs and professionals
Right.
shows that the church values holistic healing.
Right.
One of the most important messages the church can offer is that there's always hope. With faith, support, and right resources, people can experience transformational healing.
Yes.
The church can be a beacon of hope, constantly reminding individuals that they are never beyond redemption, that God is with them in their struggle, and they can rebuild their lives. The faith-based community has a unique opportunity to walk alongside people in their recovery journeys with love, understanding, and practical support, reflecting the grace of God in ways that transform lives.
Wow, wow, wow. Now, I just want to pause right here, and I think this is a good time to take an offering and go to an A and B selection after that. Absolutely amazing. What an amazing message to the church, to the faith-based community. So much to digest, so much to process. But I've just, as I was listening to you, so much stood out to me. And, allow me just to add to that and just to say, here's what I received, that the church must become a safe place for those who are hurting. It's a
Yes.
reminder to the church, be that safe place. We want to remind us, we want to remind the church, right, that we are community. That's what we provide, right? I love what you talked about, understanding the importance of community. A couple of other things, a few things that I wanted to highlight so people can lean into this is that it's important that as a church, we don't stigmatize, we don't demonize, we don't criminalize, right, substance use issues or mental health conditions, nor do we hyper spiritualize that, right? That the journey that people are on. And I love what you said, the importance of collaborating, right, with others and understanding that there are limitations that the church has, right? We pray, we pray for people, we speak the word of hope, we speak the gospel message of hope, but we understand exactly what you've said, that there's some practical things that must be done as well as we're on this journey with people to recovery. So thank you so much for highlighting those things. I know that there's so many in the faith-based community in the church who will receive so much from this. Thank you so very much.
You're welcome.
And could you say that again, what you talked about? Talking about, is it transformational grace? Could you tell me that word again? That was so amazing. Could you just share that with us again?
Well, what I said essentially is with faith, support, and the right resources, people can experience transformational healing, and that the church can be a beacon of hope, reminding everyone that they're never beyond redemption,
Wow.
and that God is with them in their struggle and they can rebuild their lives.
Wow, I love that. And I want to echo that God, someone listening, God is with you in your struggle. And I don't want to overlook that, because someone watching, you might find yourself in a dark place, whether it's substance use, a mental health condition, depression, anxiety. Maybe you have a diagnosis of some kind. Maybe you're facing a health condition. Hear us echo that today, that you are not alone. God is with you. God is with you. And we could echo the scriptures. Lo, I will be with you always. God is close to the brokenhearted. He sends his word and he heals. Mercy, mercy. This is not a preaching time, but we just want to flow in just saying to somebody that's watching that God is with you. Let's begin to wrap up our time. So much could be said. You've talked to us about managing our uh, many of the conditions that we face. But here's how I'd like to wrap up. How can people reach out to you for more information about your work in both substance use and in ministry?
I am the Director of Virtual Peer Services at the Georgia Council for Recovery. And if you'd like to get in touch with me, please email me at prism721@yahoo.com. Thank
Wow,
you.
wow. Lady Beverly, thank you so much for this wealth of information. Thank you for your story of recovery, a journey that continues, right? And thank you for the message of hope. We do want people to know, right, that recovery, again, can come through varied pathways, right? And one of those pathways, as you've shared, it's both practical, it's both marketplace, it's both and ministry as well. So we wanted people to know that. My friends, I hope you've been inspired by this time. We do want you to know that if you or your loved one might be in crisis at any point, that will come up on the screen. Please contact 988. That is the National Crisis and Suicide Lifeline. We'll put that on the screen. So again, if anyone might find themselves in crisis, please feel free to reach out to our National Crisis Hotline. Also, for more resources about mental health, visit NAMI, NAMI.org. That's going to come up on the screen. And of course, as always, we invite you to visit our website at C3 In This Together. And then, of course, if you were impacted by this video, which I know you were, right, please hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to our YouTube channel, C3 In This Together. That will come up on the screen. And please share this video, comment, and let us know how you've been impacted so that together we can bring hope and healing. Thank you so much for joining us, and we will see you next time for 30 minutes in our own voice. Again, Lady Beverly, thank you for the amazing work that you're doing. We speak blessings to you. We speak well wishes to you. Thank you for bringing hope and healing to both marketplace and ministry as well. Many blessings to you.
Thank you.
My friends, we'll see you next time in our series, 30 Minutes in Our Own Voice.